Papa Squat, coming at ya. Hey everybody. This video is actually not a reaction video. I decided to go through and do kind of a year-end recap of the channel and kind of give some information. I've done this previously on a video that was also a reaction video, so I have no idea where it is. So this one's going to be labeled just kind of a year-end recap. This is actually the first full year of me doing these reaction videos. I started not in 2021, but in 2020, in like October or November. It must have been October. Maybe even September, I forget. But this is the first full year I've been doing this. I know I missed a few days or a couple of weeks when I was kind of doing stuff this summer. It was just after Shock G had died, oddly enough. And then, but anyway, I wanted to go through and show you guys some of the back end of what goes on with YouTube and YouTube Studio, which is what it's called on my side of things when I for my channel. This is the dashboard page. So this is the main page you see when you set up your own channel. For a lot of people, if you have a channel or if you have a YouTube account, you probably have a page like this. There's just nothing on it. This is the only video channel that I have, at least under the Papa Squat name. I have my own, login for YouTube that's just under my name. But I thought we'd take a look at this. So yesterday, and I also wanted to explain, yesterday's song was the one that's showing here on the screen in that little image way up over here. Is I Know There's Gonna Be Good Times featuring Yug Thug and Popcan. And geez, who is that even by? I don't know. Featuring, do I say who it's by? I must have. Oh, no, it just says featuring. Huh, weird. So I think I left off a name. So as you can see, I can click into the content itself, and it will show me what's going on with those. And I can edit the description, I can edit the title, I can change the image here of what gets presented to you. I can add it to the one list that I have, or playlist that I have, which is favorites. And then I also put in information about like what genre it is and language that it's in. So most of my videos I have listed as reaction, rap, hip hop, old school for the really old stuff, music, and then if it has other things, like this one has trip hop and sampling as part of it, I include that. I've included things like gangsta or bilingual or Spanish, and so all sorts of different information that could potentially go in there, and I assume that works just like SEO, search engine optimization, so that when you type in a thing, I'm looking for Spanish music comes up, and it could possibly include something of mine because it's labeled as Spanish. Anyway, that's a whole bunch of talking. My cat wants to go outside. So this shows me what playlists I have, which is favorites. Analytics, this is actually the interesting part. So this covers the last 28 days, so 4 weeks. Peanut, come on. He's been in and out all day and he just wants to go back out. This covers the last 4 weeks, and I can look at overview, reach, engagement, and audience. Some of this is more interesting than others, and I have not delved into any of this very deeply. I actually prefer to look at lifetime and the advanced mode, which kind of lumps everything together into one thing here. And there's actually some really interesting... That's, again, my cat. Peanut! Come on. Stop it. Come on. Come here. There, now he's by my hand. I'm sure he'll be attacking me soon. So there he goes. So this is actually kind of interesting because just in the last week or two, we have reached over 1 million impressions, which is kind of ridiculous. But when I think about the fact that this has been a year and a quarter or something like that, that seems like a pretty reasonable number of impressions, given that all impressions mean is that it appeared somewhere on someone's screen when it was when they were looking at their screen, they may not have paid attention to it, they may not have noticed it, it may have only been there for a second when they hit the back button instead of looking at what page was loading. I mean, all sorts of different things. So impressions are not particularly important other than you're seen by a whole lot of people, maybe. And given the fact that I have over 1 million impressions and under 500 followers, that tells you how many people actually bother looking and then like it and then end up coming back or end up subscribing and doing anything. So when I say I appreciate you guys for sticking around and commenting on things, I really mean it, because there's a lot of people who are potentially exposed to this, and you're the only ones who have stuck around and who have had anything to say, so I appreciate it. Some other interesting bits of information. Views. So of the 300, 400 videos that I have up here, and we can look to see exactly how many I have, but I don't particularly care. 57,761 views. So that seems like a lot to me. Just because, as I said, there's under 400 videos, and so they've been played many, many times each, even if it's just for a little bit. I don't know how much of a video has to be played for it to be recorded as viewed. The watch time is also super interesting to me, because the watch time for those 57,761 videos is 3,000 hours, 119 minutes, 0.7. I'm sorry, 3,119 hours, 0.7. So 0.7 of an hour would be like, what, 40 minutes, something like that. 7 times 6, 42, yeah. And so kind of interesting, right? 487 subscribers, so we're getting very, very close to 500. Kind of cool. Again, had not imagined anybody would be interested in watching these videos all that much, but apparently around 500 of you are so far. Click-through impression rate is 4.2%, which is actually pretty darn good. I'm not currently up on what's considered a good click-through rate, but it is way below 4%. Normally a click-through rate, especially for like a company, if you're talking 0.5 to 1%, you are kicking some serious butt. But that's advertising. That's not just, you happen to see an artist that you like their work and you've heard the song, or maybe you're curious about the song and so you engage with it a little more actively. But a 4.2% engagement rate, I think, is actually pretty darn good. So I'm impressed by that, even though I have nothing to do with it other than to put these videos up. So I'm glad to see that people are interested and are clicking through. It should come as a surprise to almost no one. And of course, as I say that, I go, oh, well, no, that probably will be surprising to most people, because you don't see this information. The, by far, absolute #1 video of all time on the channel is from SPM, South Park Mexican, and it's his song I Must Be High, which I did, months and months ago now. But of the 57,761 views, 4.9% of them are from that video alone. So almost 5% of the video views have been that video. 6.4% of the time of the 3,119 hours and 42 minutes, 6.4% of that time has been spent watching that video. So people coming in to see that. That's a significant amount of time. I mean, what's 6.4% of 3,000 is a lot of time. I'm not doing that math in my head at the moment, although I'm sure I could if I gave it a minute's thought. Subscribers, also, I Must Be High from SPM has resulted in 33 subscribers, which is 6.8% of my subscribers. And beyond that, it doesn't much matter. The click-through rate for the SPM I Must Be High video is 7.9%. Also, gotta be probably the highest rate on the channel. That is just super high. And again, that's because people search for SPM's music, and if they see somebody reacting to an SPM thing, they probably are like, oh, I'm curious what some random white guy from middle America thinks. I don't know why you would be interested in that, other than I don't know his music, and so I'm giving a fresh reaction to it. And I well, I actually do regret having that be the most popular video because it was the first video I did by him, did featuring his music, and had not read much about him really at all, and I misspoke in that video and said he was from Dallas instead of Houston, which was a mistake. He's from Houston. South Park is part of Houston, or is a suburb neighborhood section of Houston. I don't know Houston at all. I'm trying to think if I've ever been there. I've been to parts of Texas, but not Houston. Um, but yeah, and I also didn't know anything about his history and being accused and ultimately uh, sent to prison for abuse that seems really like he got seriously mistreated by the justice system. And I hope the truth comes out, no matter what it is, because I think he did get screwed over. Um, the follow-ups. So, I Must Be High by SPM is more recent than 80s music. The number 2 song is from Run the Jewels and DJ Shadow. I should say DJ Shadow and Run the Jewels. Also more recent. The Humpty Dance from Digital Underground is the number 3 video. That's obviously from the... Is that the 80s or is it the 90s? I think it must be the 90s. It could be wrong. I don't know exactly when that came out. And then, so that's so far the oldest video. And then Rockbox by Run DMC, which is actually an old 80s hip-hop rap song from some of the masters from what? That's the number 4 video. And number 5 is another more recent hit, which is Lil Dicky featuring Chris Brown with Freaky Friday. Such a good song. I can keep going. Immortal Technique is next. Man Perish. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 with The Message. Let's see, MF Doom. Drake and Soulja Boy. And I think this is either number 10 or 11 is Riddler on... What? Riddler on My Roof. I don't know why I have a weird misspelling in here by SPM. I have an additional word in the title of that. So if we look at the graph on top here, you can see these different colored lines, right? This one here that's elevated so high is the Humpty Dance by Digital Underground. So this was around the time Shock G had passed away, and people obviously were searching for this, so you can see a big spike in this video. There's another big spike here with whatever this green video is, which was DJ Shadow featuring Run the Jewels with Nobody Speak. And then this big, huge spike here that you can see in blue is I Must Be High by SPM, which continues to do very, very well. And again, I think that's because his music and his life and his experiences speak to so many people, and he's popular, and he makes some really good music. He's one of those guys that I listen to and I think how crappy it is, how difficult it is for people who are truly talented to break through and to get a level of attention that they really do deserve, because their stuff is just that good. But we have so much information out there, it's so hard to get through this kind of white noise of everything that everybody has to pay attention to. And you know, once an artist becomes established, then they're more reliable, so then people pay more attention to them as opposed to paying attention to what's new, even though what's new might really be not necessarily better, but might appeal to more people than an artist who's already had something land and be successful. So again, that's another reason why I'm listening to this stuff, partially to educate myself on the music I missed out on when I was a kid because it just was not part of my experience growing up. And that's it. That's the only reason I didn't know of it. I didn't grow up in New York or LA or anywhere that rap and hip hop was an up and coming thing. I didn't even have a radio station or access to reliable hip hop or any kind of R&B, anything music in the Wisconsin. I grew up in Burlington, Wisconsin, which is a small town in the southeast corner, kind of between Racine and Kenosha, or between Milwaukee and Chicago. It's about an hour, hour and a half either way between them, near Lake Geneva, the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons. Obviously explaining what I was into when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, my whole life. Since I was about 12 years old, I was a game player. And yeah, so this stuff is just super, super interesting. This tracks all the videos. You can see there are lots and lots and lots of them. So this shows the top 50 results. Please use exports to view 500 results. I'm not going to bother with that. We can see the traffic source. Some of these aren't going to be very interesting. YouTube search is by far, like, it's nearly 50% of the results, so that doesn't surprise me at all. Geography, so this is kind of interesting because I get to see where people are watching things. And again, I'm doing this not necessarily to let you know how my channel is doing, but also so that, or not exclusively for that reason, but also so that you know, if you're curious, what other YouTube channels have access to in terms of information, like what you are giving them when you watch a video. And obviously this is all tracked by YouTube and they then make it available to us. But so this tells me that 67% of the viewing time comes from the US. 72%, almost 73% of the watch time comes from the US. So 7 out of 10 people start watching a video. People in other countries click away before the people in the US does. That's all that matters. The UK is next with only 2.2% of the views, and then Canada, Mexico, blah, 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 is 0.6 or less. So not huge in other parts of the world. It is, however, interesting because I can go all the way down to the number, whatever, I don't even know how many it is, the very last spot. It accounts for 0%, so it's too small for this to measure. 10 views come from Sweden, and 10 views come from the Netherlands, and there's a whole bunch of other countries in between there. Viewer ages, we can check this out. So most of my viewers, about half, are 25 to 34 years old. And really, I think that kind of makes sense because those are going to be the people who didn't necessarily grow up with this music, but it was music that their parents would have been listening to, and so this is my thinking, they have some nostalgia for this music that they've heard in the past and they want to hear it again and maybe find out a little bit more information about it. People in the 45 to 54-year-old age range are the people who are probably reminiscing on the music that I tend to review, or why I started reviewing this, the stuff from the 80s, because that's the stuff they grew up with. And the people in the 35 to 44-year-old range also grew up with it, and also probably have some of the nostalgia of like, oh, this is just when I was getting into music and it was just so cool, and this is what I liked, and it got me into this other type of music that I listen to more now, or whatever. But super, super interesting. And then I'm sure the younger viewers are people who happen to find some content for some reason, that either a song was familiar to them, or they wanted to hear something, or they stumbled upon it, or they searched for something at random, or they happened to find, and that's how they found it. So kind of interesting how it's broken down. But again, most of the people, half the people, I shouldn't say most, half of the people roughly are in the 25 to 34-year-old age range. Viewer gender, this is really pretty surprising. 5.4% female viewership. Um, that seems incredibly low. Um, but there you go. I don't know why that would be other than I don't know. I don't know what that tells me. I don't have enough information for it to tell me anything. Women are busier. Women don't like music. I mean, I could make any sort of assumption and they would all be stupid based on just this percentage. People just don't watch, or females, women don't watch my videos, which I guess makes sense given my, my track record. Date, I don't know what this is. Oh, it's by date, like number of views per day, watch time per day, average viewers. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Subscription status, subscription source. It doesn't matter if people are subscribed to me. I have subscribers, obviously. I don't make any money off of it. I cannot, in fact, monetize this video channel via YouTube because so much of the music is copyrighted and I can't collect money on that because somebody else owns that art, and all I'm doing is really critiquing it, reacting to it, and yeah, you don't get paid for that unless somebody else pays you for it. Like the artist is not going to lose money, and I'm fine with that. The artist is not going to lose money to pay me to react to their music. Like that's not what they do. They make music and they get paid for that music. There you go. Subscription source. I don't care. It's all from YouTube. Playlists. I just have the one, which is the favorites playlist. It looks like it's only had 45 playlist starts. 117 views. Wow, it looks like whoever's watched this has watched it all the way through. Like, no, I don't understand the numbers here. Because the average duration is only 6 minutes and 16 seconds. So people have probably watched it. There is actually some really good music in there, and I've clicked on it myself to listen to like, oh yeah, I did like this song. And also to remind me to go search for some other music. Device type is super interesting. This is interesting to me because I'm older than most of the people who are watching this channel. And for me, growing up, well, not even growing up. For me, once computers were a thing that you could have in your home, like at a reasonable price, I just think of a laptop or a desktop. I think of a full computer, and I've used laptops for years and years and years, and tablets and iPhones and everything. But mobile phones, because they're in our pockets all the time, we have them all the time, is responsible for 60% of the views, roughly 60% of the watch time. Then there's the desktop computers, then there's TVs. So once you get on your TV and click into your Fire Stick or Apple TV or whatever, and they have the YouTube option, a significant amount, 10% is viewed on TV, only 5% on tablet, and 2.8% on a gaming console. So that would be like obviously your Xbox or something like that. So if you had downloaded your YouTube channel or YouTube app, you would access it via that. So interesting. Mobile phone is going to be the king no matter what. I mean, it's just going to be number one. There's other things we can look at here I'm not too concerned about because I don't use most of this. It's things like subtitles and translation usage, and like I don't ever jump into that stuff and do anything with it. But this is all just super good information. I think it's really interesting to look at. I check this out, I don't know, every few days or so, maybe at most or at least once a week. And we can take a look at other things too. So if we want to look at like the last 7 days, it'll tell us what the number one song was. And again, it was In My Hood by SPM, so one of the more recent SPM videos. Then Bang in the Park by Lil Travieso, which was actually kind of a good song. MF Doom and Mad Villain, Riddler on the Roof by SPM. Rich Man's World 1% by Immortal Technique. So and then Ghetto Boys after that, another SPM, Brother Ali. that's just in the last week. These videos or these ranking, and that amounts to 1,770 views, 103 hours of watch time. And that looks like pretty good numbers to me too. So uh, that's really it. That's what I kind of wanted to go through. I can look at comments, obviously, here. It looks like Andrea S., who just joined us a couple of days ago, has had some comments recently. Gigi Stater Tots. Oh, Gigi's Tater Tots. That's a great name. Had some cool things to say about kind of when he was back in high school in the Bay Area, and he had some information about Too Short and E40 from a song we did just the other day, which was the song by I Am Sue, TWDY. I really like that song. But anyway, I can see all this stuff, and I try to comment if it requires a comment back, and I at least give a thumbs up to acknowledge, like, hey, I see this, I've read this, I get what you're saying. And there you go. That's about it. That's the whole deal. And then back to the dashboard here, which tells me, we've suddenly gone up by 3 subscribers. We're at 491. We were at 487 when I started this. Yeah, there you go. That's everything. If you're curious to stick around, feel free. I can also tell you, no, I don't want to do that. I can also tell you the sorts of things, or show you the sorts of things that I watch, like my subscriptions, which are over here. I have a lot of Magic the Gathering content. I have recently started watching a guy called Mr. L. Boyd. Mr. L. Boyd Reacts. He's a African American guy. Seems to know his music really, really well. He does 4 or 5 videos a day that he reacts to. Really a wide variety of things. I don't know if I could get away with reacting to the stuff that he does, because I have listened to so much music over the years that the things that he's reacting to for the first time I've known forever, and that doesn't seem like a reaction video to me. So I'm not going to do things like whatever Roy Orbison or Lonely Lonely Island, not Lonely Planet. That's the book series. Lonely Island or Diane Word, and Diane Word, absolutely, totally a hip hop band. Fantastic, like completely over the top, artsy South African, crazy, in your face kind of stuff, and I just love their music. But anyway, Good Luck High Five, which is another Magic podcast. Nitpicking Nerds is a Magic podcast. Strictly Better MTG is a Magic podcast. Dungeons and Dragons, whatever their website is, it's probably for Gavin Verhey, which again is either D&D or Magic. Yeah, I'm a geek. And then also do some... where's the one I'm trying to think of? Oh, Binging with Babish is just a fantastic channel about cooking and making food, and he's a very funny guy. I enjoy watching his stuff. But that's the sort of stuff that I watch when I'm not... and I recently started getting into watching Critical Role, which is a bunch of voice actors. If you're not familiar with this, it's one of the big stories of the last however many years, playing D&D and showing their games online, and they play very good games, and I am constantly amazed by how engaged the players are in that game. But I guess I'd be engaged too if it turned out recording my friends and I playing a game would earn me $9 million over the course of 3 years, which is what they managed to pull in over Twitch, and I think it was just Twitch over the last few years. And hey, good for them, because they're tapping into something right now that's super popular. D&D is super popular, and if I felt like I could do something of equal quality, I would love to run D&D and record it. And I have a game I'm running right now that would be so much fun to show to people, because it's very different than a lot of the epic fantasy stuff, at least at this point in the game. It's really been fun. Um, anyway, that's what I listen to. That's what I watch when I'm not doing these videos. Other than that, I do a lot of writing or attempting to write, and I've released a ton of gaming products over the years. I used to be the product line developer for a game called Mutants and Masterminds, which is a superhero role-playing game, and as part of that, released a game. Again, I was the developer and editor on it for DC Comics, so we had the license to do Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and OMAC and all the characters only geeks have ever heard of, and we are amazed to see showing up on television these days. And we have people talking about Nanda Parbat and Dead Man, and I mean, just it's insane. The nuclear family on Titans, I just insane things that are now on TV that it feels like America has grown up with me, because everything that I loved as a kid is now popular and cool. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but that means I have tons and tons of stuff that I can read and watch and enjoy, whether it's a superhero movie or a superhero TV show or a fantasy movie or a fantasy TV show or a D&D TV show on YouTube or whatever. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, that all this stuff that I saw as a kid and was like, this is what I like. Apparently now all the kids of people my age were also brought up with those things and think, man, this stuff is awesome. This is cool. It's fun. I get to be with my friends and use my brain and tell a story. And, like, that's the best, and it's fantastic. So anyway, that's a little tour of kind of behind the scenes here of what's going on in the channel. Yesterday's video, I know there's going to be good times, was blocked or is currently blocked because of copyright issues. The video I'm going to do in a little bit may also be blocked, but it is a New Year's Eve video. So we'll see how that works. Regardless, if you're watching this and you haven't seen either the December 30th or the New Year's Eve, December 31st videos, because they were blocked, go back and see if they're available now, because who knows when you're watching this. But that's about it. If you have questions about this, feel free to let me know. This is a very different video than I normally do. Probably not going to do these super regularly, but I thought it was a good time of year to do a little info dump for people if anybody's curious. If you have questions, let me know. Pop Squat. Checking out. Have yourself a wonderful new year, or at least I hope you survive the new year, because that's not a joke, because Betty White just died, and that was very sad. She reminded me so much of my grandma, who also died a number of years ago, but they looked similar to me. Like, they were so similar and so funny. I just love everything she did. Have yourself a good New Year's Eve, and that is all.